In darkness, the goddess flips a coin. 8 threads she weaves to conjoin. Bound by passions they need to sate, these shall form a twist of fate.
Growing up, I thought I saw my whole life laid out in front of me, but then at a certain point, everything changed, and well, I needed a new beginning, so I went out and found one.
There's actually no such thing as a new beginning. I have this old funny friend, and he talks about how it's just a new chapter. Like you can't get away from the chapters before the next chapter. It's just another chapter. And that's like the beautiful thing, because like life is art. We're creating this big art piece, and the first chapters are just as important as the last chapters.
I have lost track of the number of times I have begun anew. A feeling of relief from escaping pursuers mixed with excitement of discovery of new places and faces.
Skyfire roars in the face of a shadowy demon, slashing down with her halberd as a swarm of gargoyles crawls all over her. Arazvor swoops by, his tail striking them and freeing his sister. Skyfire stares over towards the imposing Onyxium Spire. We find ourselves hurled into the chamber within the Onyxium Spire where our players do lie, all of them frozen as they watch Baron having unveiled himself from this stained glass mosaic, wicked ebony blade at his side, standing imposingly over the tiniest member of them, Kynden Treacle, her eyes smoking with darkness as she inflicts her insidious gaze, trying to pour her will into Baron. Val, seeing a companion in danger, racing over towards Kynden's side. Val, are you being aggressive towards Baron in this moment, or are you merely trying to protect your ally?
Well, I've got a flaming sword in one hand and a giant shield in the other, so I'd say I look pretty aggressive, even if my only goal is either like push him away or if I can grab her, but it depends on their exact orientation with each other.
Kynden, are you still just lost in your staring up at Baron with your dark eyes of your insidious gaze?
Oh yeah, the energy is just pouring off of her intent to make him stop.
You watch as Baron looks down at you, those horns seeming to glint with odd powers as well. Dark crackling electricity flying up. He cocks his head over towards Val as she comes racing up, and with a dancer's grace, he just slips out of the way. You can see his hand is still on the hilt of his blade, but he doesn't draw it. He just sort of smiles as you approach. The torchbearer, of course. So good to have a beacon of illumination here. Isn't it classic? The battle of light and dark. Such an eternal tale, won't you say, Val?
She doesn't even look at him. Her eyes are on Kynden. Kynden, get back! Kynden! And goes to throw an arm around Kynden's midsection to grab her and pull her away.
Ow! She snaps out of it.
Do you allow yourself to be pulled away as well, Kynden?
She's not thrilled about it, but she's so surprised by the act that she just goes with it. She's pretty small too.
Baron begins to stride over towards where Callista and Clementine are. Sazey, have you taken any actions at this time, or are you still staring lost at your once daughter?
Unfortunately, Sazey is completely shocked at what she's come to discover and can only stare at her grown daughter in awe and sadness, having seen what Callista has done to poison her daughter's mind.
Those of you that have just arrived in this chamber, Rusco, Gret, Andromeda, you're sprawled upon the ground.
Rusco is going to look around the room, trying to get a read on what's happening. He recognizes Baron is an enemy, even though others may not, but no one is currently attacking him, so he's just holding his action. He's seeing Callista, he's seeing Sazey in shock, and she's just going to hear within her mind as he casts message, "What are we doing here, Sazey? We're following your lead." Gret will get up as quickly as possible, but with no attack at the moment, he's just going to ready himself for when the hat drops.
Andromeda gets to her feet, points one of her axe heads at Baron, and looks over to Gret. Okay, who's this guy?
You'll find out soon enough. You're a bit of a wild card. Must admit I wasn't expecting you, but expect the unexpected in this business. Isn't that right, Fennec?
That is right, Baron.
Stabbed me once, almost killed me. Would you like to try again?
Truthfully, I think I did fucking kill you for a second.
That is true. I'm not who I once was. I've been given gifts. For the first time, he removes his hand from his blade. For a very brief second, you watch as his eyes lose that purple glow and return to their normal hue that you remember when you first met him. The brows tighten, the confidence fades, and then the hand shoots down again to the hilt, and they return, flaring purple. You gave me so much that day, both you and Kynden. You gave me a reason to leave it all behind, to embrace this new destiny for myself. But that wouldn't be possible without the aid of my dear sister, now would it? And he moves over and he holds out a hand, and both Baron and Clementine aid Callista to shakily stand up from the bed. Callista. Yes, dear brother. So much has changed, but so much more is on the horizon yet, isn't it? Indeed. Transformation is necessary for us all. Wouldn't you say, Sazey? Monster. Such a phrase you throw around.
She's not wrong, and I'm gonna walk up beside Sazey.
So, just like with Nelphine, you're all just going to stand in front. Put yourselves on the line. Guess I shouldn't have expected anything less.
Andromeda raises her hand. I'm sorry, but who's Nelphine? I just feel like you guys are talking about a lot of stuff I don't understand. I feel like everyone knows each other already.
Andromeda will inform you later. For now, let's just keep our wits about us.
Yes. Callista hunches over, puts a very tender hand on Clementine's shoulder and brings her close. You can see Clementine returns the gesture, hand around Callista's waist, taking her weight, holding her up. There is a tenderness to the touch between them. Yes, much needs to be spoken about. The horrors that you have unleashed upon this
Lies.
world. No, not lies. You just want to hide from the truths that make up your very being, don't you?
Everything I've done for her.
For her? For the one whose mother you killed?
I did no such thing.
See the poison that she spreads into all those around her, my dear tiny, terrible viper. Just leave, all right? Nobody has to get hurt. You don't have to do this. Tiny looks at you and you can see that fight that is within her. She just abhors the violence that she knows is on the horizon, but she does not want it to come forth. Still, there is that tiny bead of innocence within her.
Sazey can't help but just stare at her. She's at a loss for words, looking at her daughter now almost fully grown. I'm wondering, based on the smoke that I'm seeing, if I can cast medicine to kind of determine how sick or what the illness is that Callista has, if it has any sort of...
Do a medicine check for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
15.
There's a variety of ailments that could determine maybe one or two of the things that Callista is dealing with, but looking at her, she is so much worse than when you last saw her that you can only assume that there is some kind of arcane aspect to the malady that is afflicting her.
Can I ask if it's contagious to Clementine? Is it something that she could possibly acquire as a result of her close contact to Callista?
You don't believe that this is something that's contagious. This is something that's very specifically within Callista.
Cool. Thank you.
As much as I love a good family reunion, perhaps we should bring somebody else out.
Val stands up at this point, having kind of checked Kynden to make sure that she's okay, and then turns and looks at Sazey. He's like, we came all the way here and you're just going to stand there? Sazey!
How am I supposed to grab her? I am a stranger to her.
In 5 more minutes, I'm sure there will be only one
I will
of
not
us.
be her captor. I am her rescuer.
We might not have time to make that distinction.
She turns to Clementine. I swear to you, I have only ever loved you. Please, trust me and come with me.
Can I do some kind of arcana check to see if there is a charm spell of some description being maintained on Clementine at this moment?
Yes, please feel free.
Andromeda is just going to stand to move in front of Aiko as the tension starts to rise. And she'll take a defensive position, a casually defensive position.
15.
From what you can tell, sniffing the air and feeling the weaves of magic, there is a heap of illusory magic that is in here and conjuration as well. But there is no source of enchantment upon Clementine at all. As you make this plea to Clementine, Sazey, you can feel that you are reaching out to her, that necklace that connects the two of you. And it's at this moment that you see that she still wears the matching one that you gave her oh so long ago. And for a brief second, her hand starts to move up towards where that necklace is. But we will find out if fate is in your favor this day. I give you the coin. As you plea your case, a twist of fate.
Yeah. Not the skull, not the skull. Things are coming up, Sazey.
In this moment, is there something else that you say? Is there some sort of magic that intricately links mother and daughter that aids this moment right now? Just describe it. You have some liberty.
I make a very intense point of looking into her eyes. Like it's an intense eye contact. And I start to sing the song to her ever so softly. As I'm saying it, tears start to come down my face and my little pendant begins to glow. And I see in her eyes a recognition.
Watch as you sing this song and the veil seems to lift from her gaze that was once hard and stony towards you, and you see a glimpse of that innocent child that you sang this lullaby to every night. Tears begin to well up. A single one strips down from her right eye, that glimmering blue of the ocean that reminds you of Delilah so much. And as she goes to catch it, there is a faint bit of white light that begins to glow from the mushroom pendant upon her neck. Your song is interrupted, though, as Callista's bony skeletal hand digs into Tiny and draws her close, pulling her head into her. No, my dear, don't listen. Her song, her siren song, it will drive you to madness.
Do not touch her.
Why would I not touch my own daughter?
She is not yours and you know it.
Shh. Callista pulls her in and starts rocking her, and Baron steps in front, looking out at each of you. As heartfelt as this is, I think it's time we take care of some business, don't you? He flicks a hand, and you see from one of the alcoves within this chamber, the shadows fade away, and you hear the clinking of chains, and as dropping down from one side is the haggard form of a dark elf long white hair streaming down, sweat and grime inside of it. His silken, velvety garments of beautiful green. The cravat is completely ragged and torn. There is dirt and blood stains all on it, but still, as the head looks up and you see those dark green eyes staring out, the willpower of Nazran Velgar, the investigator who brought you all together within Haven, still holds strong. Whatever this creature offers you, do not take it. I will die for the cause. But if you could find it in yourself to take care of him and let me down, it would be greatly appreciated.
Andromeda, we gotta save this one as well. Velgar, we're coming.
Aye, aye, Captain. And then she's going to run towards Baron and chuck out her great axe at him. 19.
One of them goes flying across, and Baron just so casually draws the ebony blade, knocks the axe blade out, and you see the sword of midnight is drawn and unveiled. The blade that draw in all of the light that is within this chamber. You can see inky tendrils that are coming off of it and dark purplish runes that are beginning to alight upon it. There is crackles of lightning around. I would like Kynden to make a perception check for me.
13.
13. You hear very faintly in the distance the beating of powerful wings that are getting closer and closer to where you are. Looking over your shoulder, you can see that it looks like Skyfire is outside, and she has seen this opening and seen the wind that is rustling around this chamber, and she is making her way towards where you are.
Andromeda, pissed off that she missed, is going to give into another blood song and take another attack.
Okay. You just watch as Baron and Andromeda are just dancing this martial dance, sword and blade. Baron just moving with this liquid grace.
The blood song of pain ignites. Cold northern winds begin howling, chafing and flaking the skin off Andromeda's face, tangling her hair into knots. Tears of blood stream from her eyes down her cheeks. Her body is bathed in glowing red, green, blue, light particles of an aurora borealis as an unearthly, electrical, screeching, keening fills the air.
Rusco is moving over towards Nazran Velgar.
Okay.
Val yells at Sazey again, of like, Sazey, on your mark, what do you want us to do? This is your call.
You all take care of Baron. I've got Callista.
Okay. Fennec, what are you doing?
I step towards Callista.
Okay. Gret.
Gret takes a non-magical shard, ignites it with artificer energy, and throws it up at the window where Skyfire seems to be coming close. And as it hits the window, a neon sign with an arrow pointing down and text that says, "Save us here," flashes so that Skyfire can see exactly what's going on.
Okay, great. Kynden, what are you doing as you clock Skyfire coming forth?
Kynden whips her attention back to Baron. She is dead set on him and slowly moves towards him. Whenever she makes her way there, she tries to gain his eye contact again and just commands him to stop.
Okay, so you are moving towards Baron, wanting to do the command. What's your next attack roll?
Seeing that Kynden is moving towards Baron again, Andromeda gets kind of nervous and jerks unexpectedly to make sure she doesn't hit Kynden, and I missed with 13.
Okay. You jerk, and Baron's sword of midnight comes out and easily flicks your blade away, and he goes into a offensive guard looking towards you. I guess it was always going to be this way, wasn't it? Sometimes the fate is written, isn't it? Let's roll initiative.
Ooh.
thunder and lightning are crackling away. The bubbling of arcane instruments is filling this chamber. You can see Baron knocks away both of Andromeda's attacks and stands there ready to face each of you with a calm grace upon his gaze. Callista, still holding Clementine to her breast, is backing up into the far corner away from you all. Rusco, you are the first to act as you race towards Nazran Velgar. What are you wanting to do?
I'm going to take a moment to turn around and start twirling smoke and fire in my hands, and I'm going to point it out towards Val and Andromeda, and they're going to be surrounded by black smoke and fire. And as they do, it's going to expand, and I'm going to use 2 sorcery points to double the spell, enlarge.
Nice.
So they're both going to get big, and then I'm going to turn around and start running towards Nazran Velgar and be trying to look at the locks and find out if there's any way that I can start breaking his shackles on my next turn.
Okay, great.
Val's going to be very uncomfortable with this.
You can see that Velgar is hanging about 5 feet from the ground. Looks like the locks are primarily on his wrist. They appear to be made of some kind of dark bronzed material, and they have very complicated runic etchings that are upon there. And as you get up close, you can see that his glorious velvet suit basically stuck back upon him with blood, but it's been torn apart in places and then just placed upon him to cover up the wounds that are underneath. But he just looks at you with a bright fever green eye. Mr. Wanwa, a pleasure to see you, even under the circumstances.
What can we do to get you out of here?
Wait, there's some sort of arcane contraption. Perhaps one of your larger compatriots might be able to cut it down. Not at the link in my hand, higher up.
Okay, we'll see what we can do.
Baron twirls the sword of midnight around, knocking aside Andromeda's axe and threatening her with its wicked edge. Dark arcana swirls up the blade, trailing inky darkness that Baron slashes into the wall of the tower behind him. It begins to seep and ooze, sinking down into this murky liquid that begins to glow with an iridescent purple hue. The arcana begins to shift and swirl the stone so it resembles a mountainous landscape with rainforest underneath. Snow caps everything. Color begins to slowly weep into this scenery as a portal is opened. Hurry, sister. Your transformation cannot delay. We've a schedule to maintain. I'll entertain our guests. Baron motions for Callista and Tiny to flee. He raises his blade and positions himself so that he is between Callista and Sazey. After that, it is Val.
Great. I see that he has moved himself between Callista and Sazey. My only goal is to move him. So
Right.
I'm going to throw my enormous body with my now enormous flaming sword at him and attempt to basically grapple him and push him.
Okay. You race towards him and just go to full-on shield bash, push him out of the way. Make a athletics check for me.
Athletics?
Mm-hmm.
Great. 24.
24.
Yeah.
Got a 23. So you come racing in and you slam into him, fully expecting this spindly form to go flying, but you feel this strength, this resistance, almost similar to what you felt when you went toe-to-toe with Skyfire. But still, your enlarged size gives you an advantage, and you're able to wham, slam into Baron. He goes skidding back, the blade of midnight scraping along the ground.
Val pulls Penance in front of her and just gets into a guard stance and then says, "You talk too much."
Wonderful. In the distance, Kynden, you watch as Skyfire is just booking it towards where you are. But as she is flying towards you, you see a swarm of those tiny gargoyles comes up and slams into her side, and they begin to crawl all over her, and she has to take some time to scrape them off, but she's still making her way towards you. It's just been delayed ever so slightly. Next up is Andromeda with Sazey on deck.
Seeing giant Val grow in size, Andromeda, looking down at her own magnificent new form, is actually feeling a little bit lost. She doesn't know who to go for, what to do exactly. The last person she got direction from was Rusco, so she kind of looks over to him like, what do I do?
Help Val.
Okay. And she'll go after Baron again. She's going to flip out her chains to loop around the back of his neck and then cross it. And she's going to stick out her foot onto his back and start choking him from behind.
Okay. Call this, you're trying to grapple him, we'll say. So make a athletics check with advantage because you're enlarged and you're raging.
14.
He sees the chains coming over, sticks the Sword of Midnight up, and then slides it up so that the crossguard is where the chains try and cramp around, and flings it off so that you're not able to get any purchase upon the ebony blade. Anything else for you, Andromeda?
Bonus action, slam down another great axe blade. 18.
18?
Can I use inspiration?
You can use inspiration, yeah.
I'm gonna do it. Okay, so that was 18 plus 4.
The axe blade comes down and the sword is too slow, but you see that there is a glint in his eye as upon his palm you see a stallion head rear up. Val would recognize the stallion upon his palm is something that Lazaran Velgar used a lot in his spell casting. And the shield that appears has this vibrant royal blue glow that comes around and catches the blade from Andromeda. And it's eerily similar to the magic that Velgar has enacted previously. That is Andromeda with Sazey. It is you with Callista on deck.
Right. So Val's move of like shouldering, rushing him.
Shield rush.
Shield rush. Thank you. How much have they moved away from being in between me? Because she's trying to get.
Val, Andromeda, and Baron are doing this martial dance kind of in the lower southeastern corner
So
of
they're
this
still
room.
in between me and Callista.
You have a
essentially?
clear path
I have a
to
clear
where Callista is in front of you, but Callista is like slowly starting to back up and turn and to run into this doorway that Baron has created.
I'd like to use Mold Earth to grasp at Clementine's feet so she's planted to the ground, and then make a little bump to push Callista out the door that's been created by Baron.
Okay, you go to cast this spell, and as you do so, Callista turns, sees what you're doing, and she casts Counterspell. As your mold earth begins to come up and start to wrap around, Callista speaks some words, and then you see this inky shadow shoot forth to counter, and it just crackles on the earth, shattering it and turning it to dust.
Can I acrobat my way in between Callista and
You can, seeing
Clementine?
that, you can race forward to try and put yourself in between the doorway and where Callista and Clementine are.
Yes,
if you
I'd
want.
like to do that.
Yeah, okay, great. Acrobatics off. I'll allow that for this.
But does Callista have disadvantage because she's so sick?
Sick, yeah.
Clementine is helping Callista,
Oh,
which
fuck.
makes it a straight roll in this instance.
Good thought, though. Good thought.
good. Yeah.
15.
15. She also got a 15.
Rollies.
Rolling again.
Damn! I got a 11.
And 11.
Yeah.
As you race forward and try and slide in between, you get your hands onto Clementine and you see Callista, just this venom in her gaze as she is staring at you. She pushes your hand away. You then go to slide on in, but you watch as Tiny looks up at you and she just grabs onto Callista. You're not gonna hurt my mom! She pulls Callista away from you as the two of them stumble towards where the portal is.
As she goes to do that, Sazey reaches out with her right hand, trying in vain to grab at Clementine.
You reach out trying to grab at Clementine and you just watch as the two of them drop into this portal and the portal begins to close and the last thing you see is Clementine looking back at you and just this confused gaze upon her face as she grips the mushroom necklace that she still wears.
Sazey races towards the portal, but it closes too quickly before she can get there and ends up slamming against the wall and screams, "No, no, no, no!"
Aiko stands and sees everything that is happening around. He then looks over, sees Rusco with Nazran Velgar and runs as fast as his little legs can carry him. And he looks up and he sees the point where the two chains meet. Okay, get ready to catch him. And he takes his mandolin off of his back and then he starts to strum a little tune, then does a big and you watch as that vibration goes up and slams into the chains and the wall starts to crack, and as it does so you watch as the chains just shatter apart and they drop down and Nazran just falls forward into Rusco's arms.
I will attempt to catch him.
He's 5 feet above the ground.
Rusco's not incredibly strong, so...
All right, go for it. Make an athletics
He's
check.
got a +1, but... Yeah, that's a 3.
Great. Nazran falls onto Rusco, who then falls onto the ground. Sorry, Mr. Wanwa, that is entirely out of decorum.
It's okay. It's okay.
And Aiko's just like, oh, I thought I was helping. I did tell you to catch. Oh God.
It's fine. It's fine.
Fennec, it is your turn.
Yeah, so Fennec walks towards Baron. He says the words of a spell, and black energy covers his hands as he reaches out to grab Baron. +8, does an 18 hit?
As you reach forth, Baron has the capability of mind to swing the Sword of Midnight around. It slices the inky darkness that is on your hand, dissipating the magic.
In that case, I will use a charge of my Channel Divinity and add 5 to that. So that'll actually be a 23.
Make it a 23.
Yeah.
You watch as the inky darkness begins to swirl down his blade and it comes onto his hand. And as it attempts to come in, you watch as that sparkling blue shield echoes upon his flesh, blocking the magic that is coming through from your attack.
Okay.
All right, Kynden.
Kynden's been taking in this whole scene, somewhat aware of what's going on with Skyfire and all of the chaos, but she continues forth towards Baron, jumps on him, grabs his ears, presses her forehead into his, and repeats herself with her voice booming. I said, stop!
Great. So this is you casting command, right?
Yes.
Okay. He has to make a wisdom saving throw.
And I still have my gaze on, I think.
Yeah. So I'll say because you've got your gaze on, I'll give him disadvantage. That is a natural 1.
Quite the disadvantage.
Quite the disadvantage.
I won't let him re-roll.
You all watch as Kynden, the smallest among you, races forward, leaps atop of Baron, and despite the arcane shield, despite his grace, this individual did not expect this kind of an action from one so small. Whether it be the kindness that you showed him previously, or the arrogance of whatever will now possesses this body, you are able to overcome his defenses, and as that no shatters out, you watch as Baron hears it, and for a brief instant, both his hands freeze. The one holding the blade of midnight lets it go. Sword sticks into the very ground of this tower room, vibrating fiercely. The purple in Baron's eyes fades away, and you can see it drifts down into the runic carving upon his chest. He drops to his knees with Kynden still upon him. Nazran Velgar manages to roll off of Rusco, and you can hear the sounds of woof, 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 getting closer. Baron looks up into Kynden's gaze. I'm sorry, you made me do it. You made me do it. You have to stop him. Whatever you do, you have to stop him.
Who?
Rathia. Whoa. Sword returns to his hand. The purple goes back into his gaze as Baron, that visage of that tiefling that you saw, is gone, and it is replaced with pure rage. Gret.
It's been a very effective 6 seconds. We've lost the person we were here to rescue, but we have found someone else in need of rescue. And so, in Gret's mind, this is exfiltration time. He's going to go to the window where Skyfire is coming in. Skyfire is still covered with some smaller gargoyles.
You can see as you get to the window, Skyfire does a barrel roll, and as she does so, lightning all around her, like crackling off into the sky, and you just see black figures of the gargoyles starting to drop off, like smoking and crumbling to dust in the wind.
Then Gret's going to use his power of talking and command to let everybody know, hit the ground, our ride's here.
Great. Back up to the top of the round. Rusco, is there anything you want to do?
Go for the sword. Get the sword away from him.
I don't have much that can do that, but yeah. I will get up from where I was laying after having Lazar and Belgar land on me and start ushering Nazran closer to where the dragon's about to come crashing in, but like obviously not in the way, just off to the side of like the window kind of area, getting ready to climb up on top. Don't know if this is going to help, but I'll try it, and I'll take a piece of crystal out of my pocket, vaguely diamond-shaped, start focusing some energy, and then fire it through that crystal, and it's going to fractate and fire towards Baron, specifically trying to aim at his sword, and I'm going to use Chromatic Orb. I will try thunder damage on it to try and like break it away from his hand or try and force him to drop his grip so that someone can...
He's already dropped it. It's on the ground, right?
It flew back to his hand. So it's an attack roll.
We'll say in the midst of this, it is in the midst of flying back to his hand because he's still under the command of Kynden. This is just what is in the midst of happening.
It's going to fly towards it, but it's only an 11 to try and hit the sword.
Yeah. Unfortunately, you aim to hit the sword where it was to knock it further away, but it's at that moment the sword begins to rise out and start to fly back towards Baron's hand. The thunder slams there, reverberating around. Alchemical equipment gets scattered around the room, flying away. Anything else for you, Rusco?
No, just preparing to climb up onto the dragon once it's here and help anyone else up who needs to.
End of your turn, the sword returns to Baron's hands and that purple light enacts once more, but you see that his entire body is locked up. Despite the fact that he was able to get the blade back, it still seems to be under the effects of Kynden's spell, but just looking dead at Kynden and addressing the rest of you. All this time, all this planning, and you insects get in the way. Don't you understand? What I am doing is for the betterment of you all. Well, I guess I'll just have to crush you under my boot. And he closes his eyes and you watch as the runes begin alighting upon the blade, and while the muscles of him are tight against it, you can see that they are straining against the magic of Kynden holding him in place, and he is straining to bring both hands onto the blade to bring it forth before him. You can feel this building of energy within his blade.
Rusco is going to reach out with flame and smoke is going to come up from the ground underneath him, and I'm going to try counterspell.
This is unfortunately not a spell that he is casting at this point in time, but your smoke begins to swirl around in between his hands, and I will say, make a Arcana check for me.
11.
Your smoke reinforces the binding that Kynden has created, but it is quickly dissipating. You've brought yourself precious seconds in this moment. Darkness fills the broken window as a huge demonic face stares in. Its hateful gaze fixes on Gret. Jaws open wide as abyssal arcana forms. A mighty roar splits the air as the whole tower reverberates. The demon's face explodes and glass shatters as Skyfire arrives. Time's up! We gotta go! Now!
Val immediately yells, Fennec, grab Kynden. Andromeda, get everyone else. And then I go to grab Sazey.
Sazey is still scraping at the wall, hoping to find some kind of hole, some kind of way to get through. Not finding anything, she grasps at her dagger and turns to look at Baron, starts heading toward him, dagger at her side, ready to try and stab him in the neck.
Val, in her enlarged form, scoops you up and then starts racing towards the window as you're just like flailing around.
No, let go of me. Stop. Let go. Stop.
It's not the time, Sazey. Come on. You have to survive.
Gret grabs the chains that Aiko had from Nazran Velgar, hoists him back onto the back of the dragon, and then casts Long Strider on the dragon, making our escape even faster. A bunch of like little teacup-sized things pop out of his back and like almost like little jet engines shoot their way underneath Skyfire's wings.
Nice.
And act like little afterburners.
Nice, yeah, they attach onto the glass armor that is in and around there, and you can see the build-up of arcane energy that is within there. Andromeda, what are you doing?
Is Kynden still anywhere near Baron?
Oh, she's on his face still.
Fennec and Andromeda, are you guys heading towards to grab Kynden?
I was gonna run by and just grab a strap of her backpack and whip her off.
As
Baron.
soon as Fennec does that, Andromeda clicks her great axe back into place, winds up like a baseball bat, and hits Baron in the face.
Kynden, in this moment, are you allowing yourself to be pulled away by Fennec, or are you trying to hold on as well?
I'm trying to hold on.
Okay, I need you to make a athletics check or acrobatics, and I need you to make an athletics check, please, Fennec.
Yep.
Nat 20.
Nat 20?
Well,
Okay.
Should have told Andromeda to grab her.
yeah, right.
Guess we're taking the Baron's face with us.
Yeah, no, not in that 20, so.
Okay, you grab onto the strap of Kynden, you go to pull, and Kynden is just death gripping onto Baron and holding onto those horns and his ears, and she's not moving anywhere. What'd you roll for your attack?
I got 2 1s in a row.
2 1s in a row, you say?
Re-roll, if you like.
Will you? Yep.
But then you're gonna go with him, maybe?
Still on his face.
All right, you've got to re-roll. You got to
Oh my
re-roll.
God, three 1s in a row.
That's what you get for using the digital dice for a while.
3 1s in a row.
Against an enemy with a Kynden on the enemy's face.
It was advantage, so it was the one hit.
Andromeda
Just trying to help.
puts down her great axe and walks out.
Just lays down in the corner.
I'm gonna go.
You know what? I think you guys are okay without me.
Andromeda, you are currently in the Blood Song of Pain,
Yes.
correct?
Yeah.
You all watch as Andromeda strides forth towards Baron. As she places the great axe back together, you hear this echoing and this vibration. It feels like there is a icy wind that starts howling within the landscape around you. Andromeda's hair is swirling around, and you can see those streaks of blood are crystallizing upon her face. There is a darkness that comes across her as her eye, the one that still sees, goes dark red. Andromeda, you raise up your great axe and slam it down into the arcane shield around Baron. No effect. You use that momentum to bring it around for a second strike, slamming down. Spiderweb cracks begin to move all the way over that shield. Third time, with a roar of all the rage that sits inside your breast, you slam it down again, and this time the shield shatters. Arcana flying all around you in a burst of electricity, and your blade slams down into the collarbone bone of Baron. You hear the snapping of bone and the expulsion of this dark maroon blood coming out from him. The weight of him shatters some of the floor of this very tower itself, but your rage is unending and you lift the blade up one more time and swing it through, but this time in blind fury, and the blade cuts through Kynden, white hot fire streaking across her abdomen. There is a flare from the ring at your side. So it's going to be 23 points of damage, halved to you, Kynden, so you're going to take 11 points of damage. And Fennec, you feel that same white fire come across your side as that damage comes into you as the ring tightens around your finger.
Oh, what's that fucking axe?
Kynden, as you gasp, you release hold of Baron, and Fennec grabs you and is pulling you away. Is there anything that you are looking for or want to say to Baron as you are racing off?
Kynden reluctantly feels this searing pain and lets go, reaching out, clamoring for Baron, and just pitifully says, "My friend, he was my friend. I had him."
Two of the party are being dragged away against their will. You come back to yourself. Andromeda standing over Baron. You see that he is bleeding this dark maroon blood, but you can see also on your axe, yet again, blood, bright red, and looking over, you follow the blood trail and you can see Kynden and Fennec racing away.
Does Andromeda know that she hurt Kynden?
I would say in this moment, you're not 100% certain. Things just sort of went red as you were crashing against Baron's shield, but you can see that Kynden is no longer there. She is racing away, or Fennec is carrying her away.
I'll follow Fennec and Kynden.
You race after them. Gret secures himself, Lazar Velgar, and Aiko onto the back of Skyfire with the chains. Rusco clambers up, aiding Fennec and Kynden. Lastly, you watch as Val hands Sazey over to Andromeda, the two of them having to wrestle Sazey, who's still screeching and clawing, trying to get her way back towards Baron. Andromeda is able to use her impressive strength to be able to climb atop of Skyfire, all the while holding Sazey at bay. Val turns, last one in the breach. As she's trained to do, she raises her shield and her sword, looking back at Baron, the rear guard, in case any final arcana comes forth from him. You watch Val as Baron's hands slam together over the blade of midnight, and his eyes, these dark smoking coals, flare with angry purple light that begins to encapsulate his entire form, filling him. He lifts himself up, and the sword of midnight is crackling, purple lightning starting to arc out towards the different areas of the tower, slamming in each place that it hits, creates this coil that is just there and building energy. A coil of this dark purple energy comes slamming through towards Skyfire. Val, you interpose yourself, catch it on the shield, and you're holding there with all of your might, all of your training, knowing that you are the light that stands in front of the darkness in these moments. And if this is what you have to do in order for your friends to go, then so be it. Baron comes crashing down into the top of the tower, the sword of midnight piercing the Onyxium spire, and with a great rumble, the tower comes apart and begins to collapse. You turn, go to leap towards Skyfire and the rest of your friends, but the floor falls out from underneath you. Skyfire pushes off instinctively, feeling the gravity of the tower begin to drag her down. She reaches out a claw and you can see the psionic energy flaring in her eyes. Val, no! As a large chunk of masonry slams down into you. Darkness takes you. Skyfire's wings beat a hasty retreat, the weight of what has just happened filling her very being. But she knows that the fight is not done yet. The fight has to go on because you are not safe. She soars into the horizon, screaming with rage, grief. Arazvor swoops away, finishing off one of the large shadowy demons with a final blow of his claws. but swarms of gargoyles are still coming, and as the spire drops down into the chasm, pieces of it fall off and transition into more dark creatures that are rising up, coming for you. Baron's revenge at you coming and invading his lair. 2 dragons fly towards the horizon as you all look back.
Sazey stares in shock. She's lost Clementine, and she's lost a member of her party. She's feeling the ultimate amount of guilt. Not only did she fail in succeeding at her mission, but she ended up being responsible for the loss of one of their own.
Fennec, as you fly away, holding Kynden to you, what's going through your head?
I think maybe Fennec even missed the fact that Val was there trying to talk to Kynden, like, what the fuck was that? He's not your friend anymore, Kynden. He's not your friend. And he never really was.
Kynden burrows into his chest and she says, "You wouldn't understand. He could have been good."
Looking back at where Val has fallen, he's just thinking, Val, your sacrifice will not be forgotten. Your memory will burn as bright as a phoenix rising from the ashes.
Gret is used to the casualties of war, but there's something about Val going first that he didn't expect. It has him shook.
Andromeda started out the day very lighthearted, and now it's hitting home to her just what being an adventurer really means.
Thunder and lightning crack in the background. You watch as the figure of Arazvor swirls and dives around, holding off the swarms that are trying to chase you. You saved someone you didn't expect, but you lost others. This journey is just beginning for you all, but yet again, seems the darkness has fate in its favor. The sky takes you. And so concludes episode 2 of Twist of Fate. Twist of Fate is Lydia Campbell as Sazey Willowvale, Chelsey Styut as Val, Adam Klassen as Fennec Nazran, Melanie Ellyce as Kynden Treacle, Nikolai Witschl as Gret Vex, Ian Greenwell as Rusco Wanwa, Chelsey McPherson as Andromeda de la Phouka, and Braye as our narrator. With Adam Klassen as our composer, Braye and Melanie Ellyce as our editors, and Braye and Melanie Ellyce as our sound designers. You can find us on Instagram and YouTube at Twist of Fate Adventures, or follow our website, shows.acast.com/twist-of-fate. Links in the episode description. Be sure to like, subscribe, and follow us so that you don't miss out when our episodes drop. Your reviews are wonderful too. Those words and ratings help our story reach across the realm to find other adventurers seeking comfort through storytelling. Our next episode flies forth on the backs of dragons in 2 weeks. Until then, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you. May you challenge destiny and shape your own twist of fate.